As we join to worship in truth and love this day, let it be with an open heart that we give praises to God. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please join with me in rising for our opening hymn, Sweet Hour of Prayer, which will be on the screen today. And I ask that you remain standing for the prayer of invocation, followed by all praying the Lord's Prayer. Let us pray. Almighty and loving God, in whom we live, move, and have being, as we kneel at the altar within our heart, let it be with the joyful song of praise for all the blessings that we know we have received and those that we know we are going to receive. And as we look at the circumstances in the physical world around us, may we not empower them to be the truth that we live in our daily life. May we see past the pain and suffering to see the resolution. And may we make that conscious choice to be part of the resolution and not be part of the issue. And in so doing, let us tap that great reservoir of truth from which the bounty of all springs forth, knowing that we can ask for these blessings and the truth and wisdom to be bestowed upon all who will open their hearts and their minds to receive that divine guidance, that they may find themselves out of the path of darkness, the pain and suffering that they have allowed themselves to be in, that they may feel that unconditional love and find the truth of their own soul and the wisdom within them to make the changes within them that they desire to see in the world, accepting responsibility for the truth of our own being. And may we affirm that by praying together the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Amen. The title of the lecture today is the Prayer of Jabez. Our scripture comes from 1 Chronicles chapter 4, verses 9 and 10. And one of them was dear to his father and to his mother, so they called his name Our Eyes. And they said to him, The Lord shall surely bless you and enlarge your territory, and his hand shall be with you, and shall deliver you from evil, that it may not have power over you, and he shall grant you that which you request of him. May Spirit bless the reading of the scripture. When we work together with God's power, we make a conscious choice to exercise our authority in prayer. And when we do that, we will come to the understanding, and I felt the need to give you this little visual today because it really doesn't resonate until you can see it. When you look at live and you look at evil, it is the same word exactly reversed. So evil in our lives is because we are living backwards, out of harmony with God's law. When we want to stop the cycle of chaos, the responsibility begins with us. We need to stand before the mirror and look at the reflection of ourselves and say, what have I done? What is amiss in my life? And where did I set this in motion so that I can forgive myself, rectify that, and raise that vibration and embrace my own self? But we need to come to the understanding that prayer is an invocation or an act that seeks to activate a rapport with an objective of worship through deliberate communication with God. How frequent do we do that? Prayer is a tool that allows us to rise above the ego, which is always seeking to ease God out, living backwards, creating evil. Anything that keeps us from being present in the moment and in harmony with God's progressive laws, natural, physical, and spirituals, is evil. It is a sin against ourselves. Evil, however, is a central ruling thought that looks upon worldly pride, pomp, and power as worthy of one's effort to attain. It also believes in outer, limited, error conditions as real. Persons who behold the outer constantly and believe in these error seemings that they see in the world bring about strife and confusion in mind, body, and all affairs. They are foolish, and they grind bitterly in the end as a result of one's own foolish pride and actions in false beliefs. First Chronicles chapter 2 verse 55 states, Jabez was a man more honorable than his brethren, and his mother called his name Jabez, saying, because I bore him with sorrow, pain. Well, guess what? If you are a mother, you know that every child that enters the physical realm enters through the pain of the mother. Excuse me. Jabez prayed to God, to the God of Israel, saying, oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my territory, and that your hand would be with me, that you would keep me from evil, that I may cause no pain or sorrow. The territory that Jabez prayed to have enlarged was not a massive estate. It was not a ranch, but it was his own individual consciousness, because that is the only territory that we ever truthfully own. We carry that with us when we leave the earthly plane, and we still have connections to that past when we re-enter again. As you know, I've just told you that we believe in reincarnation. Whether you do or not is your own personal affair, but as a collective, the United Metaphysical Churches do accept that as part of our reality. This simple petition for God's blessings, which God granted, is a model prayer that speaks for the quest to lead a more blessed spiritual life and to experience God's power personal in our own lives. Jabez, a Hebrew word meaning travail, one who causes pain and sorrow. Well, we need to understand that before our eyes are open to truth, each of us has caused pain, and we have experienced pain and sorrow in our personal lives. Metaphysically, Jabez symbolizes an awakening to the understanding that evil causes sorrow, and that the earnest desire and prayer that awaken individuals that are seeking to have that awakening and address to God in the right energy brings about deliverance from the error, that one may be blessed, and that we no longer eat of the fields that we have planted, that the harvest is ripe, because we have the ability to rise above that, to go to another field, and to reap of that until we have results that would come from that same vibration. There is a realization of victory and inner assurance of the good that is so earnestly desired when we go to God in prayer, and we're patient. We wait for that response that will guide us to that point in life where we really desire. Prayer is not a begging. It is not a bartering. I've heard some people say, well, I prayed to God and I said, God, if you will just do this, I will never again do that. God doesn't barter. You have to open that door and step through it on your own. Prayer is a simple asking for an affirmation of that which we know is waiting for us at the hands of our Heavenly Father. This is stated in Luke 11:1, verses 1 through 4, which became known as the Lord's Prayer. And all of you have just repeated the Lord's Prayer, and you know that it is none of that all-inspiring words that some of us ministers like to get up and pray as we present our great, wonderful ability in public. It is a simple, informal request of a father, of a son to a father, for the things that is desired, that one is perceived as needing to rise to that next level. Jesus advised asking for what we want and being steadfast in our demands, meaning that we should not settle for anything less. If we do, we once again have chosen to live backwards. Because when you settle, it is never happiness. It is never joy. It is just a place that we take up, physically or mentally, until we have had so much of the pain and suffering that once again we become transitory. We're seeking a new direction. In true prayer, we take with us words of truth, a statement or an affirmation, and turn our attention within to the very center of our own being. That is where the Father dwells. We affirm these words of truth, and we meditate on them. And when we meditate and get very still and wait in the silence for God to make them real to us. However, if we sit there with the attitude, I hope you will grant me this. I hope that tomorrow will be a better day. Our mind is still clogged with doubt, lethargy, or fear. We must move through that state with our faithful knocking and seeking and continually asking that the door be open to show us the way. We should pray without ceasing. We should continue steadfastly in prayer until we acquire a faculty in our asking that is equal to the expert mathematician's swiftness in handling numbers. Having done that, we shall get responses in like proportion to the faith and knowing that we have allowed ourselves to step into. Because we won't allow ourselves to receive anything greater. Prayer can be defined in many ways. It can be said to be the taking hold of God's willingness, and Jesus Christ forbade all prayers of doubt, saying, all things whatsoever you pray and ask for, believe that you receive them, and you shall receive them. In Mark 11:24. Then in Matthew 6, verse 8, the scripture tells us, your Father knows what things you have need of, even before you ask. To one in understanding of truth, prayer is an affirmation of that which is in being. Then we ask, why should we pray if everything that we desire is already created? It's very simple, because it puts us in that vibration of receiving. And we have to ask. No one from the grocery store delivers your order until you place it. That need cannot be filled until that need is stated. Then with the proper asking, all we have to do is be like that child at Christmas that is willing to extend your hand, knowing that that answer, that sustenance is there to be used by you. The all is mind. The universe is mental, held in the mind of the all. The principle that all is mental does not change the scientific conceptions of the universe, life or evolution of life or the universe. In fact, it actually corroborates that it is all energy. Herbert Spencer's basic principle postulates the existence of an infinite and eternal energy from which all things proceed. We can call it universal consciousness, divine mind, God, Buddha, Allah, Jehovah, the Creator, or simply the Source, or any other name that is more applicable to us. It is all the one and the same energy. Pretend that you are an artist, a painter, or a sculptor. From a mental image of an idea that you desire to express using your particular mode of art, you will find that while the image has its existence and being in your mind, you, as an artist, is, in a sense, immanent in the piece of art. Yet you remain separate from the mental image created. In other words, the entire virtue, life, spirit, or reality in the mental image is derived from the immanent mind of the thinker. We are the creator. And if we take that on down and bring it into the physical, then we are doing from the thought, it's the creative principle that we're bringing on in, and it becomes a visible thing. And through art, sometimes people find the inspiration to move into the spiritual realm and act upon that. While we are not the mental image created, it did come forth from our being, and if we choose to take it to the next step and create the sculpture or painting, we will recognize our energy contained within the creation. While we are not God, we are a creation of the mind of God. Therefore, God exists within us, and we have our own being in God, that infinite and eternal energy known as divine mind, where all things exist as potentialities. In order to fulfill the creative law of the Word, our part in the creative process is to bring the unmanifest into manifestation, into physical form, into being through prayer and meditation. In true prayer, we take with us words of truth, a simple statement or an affirmation, and turn our attention within to the very center of our being, where the Father dwells. This is where we take hold of God's willingness, allowing our mind to become the artist, seeing that which we desire, creating a detailed, completed vision of the manifestation desired, sending forth the affirming words, setting into motion the creative law of the Word. Then get very still and wait in silence for God to make them real. During communion with God, we can create the reality we desire, but our work is not done. We must live in harmony with that desire, or we ourselves negate that prayer. As stated in Matthew chapter 6, verse 8, while teaching, Jesus said, "Your Father knows what things you have need of before you ask." And in Mark chapter 11, verse 24, Jesus said, "All things whatsoever you pray and ask for, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them." And then Jesus told us that one of his latter teachings, all these things that I do, the wondrous miracles and things that people perceive throughout Jesus' teachings, all these things you can do and even greater if you only believe. So when our things do not manifest, it is because we are lacking in faith, or we beg as a worm of the dust, feeling unworthy, Therefore, we don't follow through, and our behavior allows us to live backwards in the ego, out of harmony with God's law. And the rewards for that is always pain and suffering. So when you see people pulling away from you, people that you feel that I have done so much for, and yet they're walking away, they're walking out of my life. Could it be that we have overstepped our bounds because we were not present in our own lives? We need to exert power somewhere. Ego exerts it into the world. When we are in good, orderly direction and harmony with God, we pull that through us, we send it out through the universe, we demonstrate it by what people see in our lives, and they want more. But they will go to the source to get it for themselves. We cannot feed them because we make them dependent upon us, and that is one of the greatest evils of the world. If you want to feed a man, teach him how to fish. If a man comes upon you hungry, feed him that day. But don't make him your servant by making him come to you every day to have that meal, because then he is at your beck and call. He becomes your slave. One man does not hold the power over another. And eventually, the person that you're trying to enslave, possibly even without the knowledge that it is occurring, will tell you in no uncertain terms where to go. And we deserve it. Jesus Christ forbid all prayers of doubt. When the mind of God is clogged, when the mind of man is clogged with doubt, lethargy, or fear, man cannot tap that great universal reservoir of mind. We cannot bring from the unmanifest to the manifest. We just create more of the same. God is an acronym for good orderly direction, which is not in harmony with the ego that always seeks to ease God out, creating chaos in our lives, separating us from the things that we desire. We should bear in mind that the darkness we create follows us, not those that we deem to be the deplorables. Our fourth principle states we believe in personal responsibility, and that we create our own happiness or unhappiness as we live in harmony or discord with natural, physical, and spiritual laws. Followed by our eighth principle, which states we believe that the highest morality is contained in the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You know, we are willing to give our children what we consider to be good gifts from our limited and transitory storehouse. But when the gifts of God are put into our mind and our hearts, we have possessions that are eternal, that will go on producing for all time. When we find ourselves in difficult situations, in desperation, we always call out to God, God, help me. And God always responds, even when we have placed ourselves in such dire straits that we are not receptive to God's response. And I've heard people say frequently, I don't pray much. I'm not very good at praying. Well, we all know that we do not excel at things that we aren't willing to do. So get down on your knees and get with it, people. The simple prayer, yet eloquent prayer of Jabez covers all our needs for any given day. Oh, that you bless me indeed, and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may cause no pain. When our consciousness is expanded, we are blessed indeed. We surrender the ego to good orderly direction, consciously choosing God over evil, healing the pain and suffering that we have caused for ourselves, and then we can do so for others. The process of rebuilding teaches us that it is through prayer we develop the highest phases of character. It softens and refines the whole individual, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And that is what we see, those who work with energy, and all people see it, or it registers on you or not. When you see the aura around a person, you're reading the soul energy. It lets you know where that individual is, and it tells you when things are amiss within their own thinking and within their own bodies that needs to be healed before trying to fix the rest of the world. Therefore, we should pray without ceasing, letting go of all doubt or fear, taking hold of God's willingness to spend time in communication with us, knowing with God's power, we truly are expanding our territory with an objective of worship through deliberate communication to live in harmony with God's law. Then our lives will change, and we will find the peace and the blessings in the world amidst the chaos that will give us the strength and purpose of being to go forth and to continue our soul's journey. Not from your neighbor, not from the person you sit next to in the pew in the church, but from within you, directly from the source. May peace and blessings be yours.